Welcome in, folks. About to get started with the designing process. If you're new to the channel, my name is Tony, and I have a YouTube channel called From Zero to 3D, and what I do on there is learn the process of 3D printing from start to finish. From the designing process, from the actual resin printing. I have a resin printer myself. It is the Elegoo Saturn Ultra 4K 16K. Yeah. That's what this mess is over here to my right. It's a great printer, great design, great company. Tonight I'm fixing a design that I had previously worked on. It was a gift from my wife's grandmother, and it's a Racko Card Holder for that classic card game by Milton Bradley and Hasbro now. So going to be hopping on that design here. Have you guys who are watching ever used anything like Tinkercad or AutoCAD or any kind of design softwares like that? I see we got a couple folks here. Waiting for a couple more here to join. My buddy Jarek from Novice to Net 20 channel is going to be joining as well this evening. Just kind of talking through some design ideas and making this design a little bit better. I'll show you guys what I'm working with here. My Tinkercad scene. Also, this is my second time live streaming on TikTok, so very new to this whole experience, and it's very interesting. Not used to this quite yet. If you are watching vertically, I recommend flipping horizontally. That way you guys can see everything better. Especially working with Tinkercad and softwares like this, it's easier to get it on a bigger screen if you can. Some of the cool stuff, here's the product itself. If you have never played Racko or have never seen the original design, let me grab one real quick here. I've got one just to the side over here. And I'll show you guys on camera as well. All right, so here I'll switch cameras again for you. Okay, so interesting. I think my live has been flagged for audio, so I'm going to turn the audio down for now. Cool. We'll see what happens. LOL. Interesting. Apparently TikTok just flagged me for unoriginal content, which I'm not sure what that means. Anyway, let's get back to it. So this is a Racko Card Holder here. For those who have never played the game, it is a pretty great game. You have cards numbered 1 through 60, have them in a pile. You're trying to get them in a sequential order, but to do so, you're constantly mixing up the cards, constantly filtering cards in and out, and you have to have 10 cards on your rack at all times. Problem is, my wife's 96-year-old grandmother had a problem playing the game because as you get older, obviously your hands start to hurt. It's hard to see tiny cards, tiny font on a flat surface like this. So what I decided to do was I decided to create a bit of an incline for that card holder. That way you could see the cards easier as you're looking down on it. It worked. I'm not going to say it worked the best, but it definitely worked. It got the job done for what she was looking to do. What was really cool about it was this was my first ever design ever for 3D printing. It was my first ever time using Tinkercad or any kind of CAD software like this. So definitely being new to a CAD software was unique in the sense that I had, again, no idea what I was doing. I still have no idea what I'm doing, but I've learned, gotten better. That's the whole point of this channel, is to learn in public and do it together and take criticism and comments from you guys who actually know what you guys are doing most of the time. I hope. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about that stuff in terms of 3D printing and design. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. So, how many of you guys have ever done 3D printing before? Love to hear your thoughts. If you're watching, go ahead and leave a comment if you've done some 3D printing before. If you haven't and you would like to, give me a little thumbs up or like this video. I'd love to see what you guys have to say. Yeah, and we'll be getting designing here shortly. So the yellow one is the original by Milton Bradley and Hasbro. This first iteration here, this blue one, is my design to make an improved version of that for an older person who had trouble using it properly. I also created some custom cards that had bigger font, bigger everything. It worked so much better than the original cards. It was clearer, contrasting colors, so the design process was totally different and totally unique for this wonderful grandmother of my wife, who's, again, 96 years old, if you didn't hear that part when you guys are just coming in. Let me pop my headphones back on. And we'll get designing. All right. Let's see here. Tinkercad. How many of you guys ever used Tinkercad before? Anyone? Tinkercad is a blast. If you guys are just hopping on, welcome to the channel. This is my first major live. I did a quick live when I was at Disney last week. That was totally unique, totally unexpected as well. I'll be doing more lives hopefully down the road, but we're going to try this one first to get started and see how it goes. This one is what I'm calling a design with me. Other people have done design with me challenges and series and stuff like that before. This one's going to be mine. It's going to be unique. It's going to be fun, hopefully. Love to hear you guys' thoughts on this design as we're going forward. So what I already did to get started was in Tinkercad, if you're not familiar, this is kind of a free, I don't know if it's open source or privately done, but Tinkercad's a really cool website where you guys can learn how to do different types of things like CAD design or, I don't know, basic electrical work. There's all sorts of cool stuff you guys can learn and tinker and play with. You could do 3D design, circuits, code blocks, simulator labs with your 3D designs. So that's really cool. Is they're doing a Rube Goldberg challenge where a ball drops from high up, and the goal is to get it into a cup or whatever. That is currently happening, I think. I was just playing around with it a little bit. It's where you could simulate your live 3D products. But anyway, so I had done a previous rendition of the card holder here. I did a copy of it, calling it version 2.1. That way we can play around with the design without messing up, I guess, what was the more of original portion here. So what we're going to do is select all. I want to unbundle this stuff here. So right now everything is considered union. I don't want it to be connected anymore. So these are some of the different shapes you can see now independently from what we had done first. This is just very basic shapes. You can see on the right hand side of the screen here, we've got basic shapes. You've got these up here are going to be holes. So anything you see that's grayed out with stripes, that means it is that shape, but in a negative space, a negative fill. So we have a box here, we have a regular cylinder, we've got a sphere, This one is an extrude sketch. There's a bunch of weird named ones. But some of the things I've done here is a round roof. I've also done a regular roof here. Do you say roof or roof? Hmm. Roof is like a dog. So anyway, I'm from the Midwest originally. I'm from Chicago, so I've called it a roof. I've called it a roof. I don't know which one's accurate. I say roof. 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 Close to rough like a dog. Anyway, so the difference between version 2.0 and version 2.1, one of the things I wanted to improve upon with this design is I wanted to make these recesses where the card will sit into it a little bit deeper than what I currently have. It's not bad what I have. I just want to make it a little bit more impactful so the card sits in there a little bit clearer and cleaner. Let's kind of see what we're doing here. I don't want to make the structure any taller, and I'll show you why. Let me go back to my main camera here. So on the full screen camera, we got we've got our original Racko card holder designed by the company themselves, all injection molded. Obviously, this is not 3D printed in mass. Um, and then we have, I'll just share them side by side here. So here's the original one. There's no angle to it, it's just a flat piece here. This one has a bit of an angle. I don't want to make it too much taller because any taller than this, and it could start to, maybe impede play. Again, who knows? That could be version 4 or 5 or 6. But for now, we're going to try little steps at a time and try to improve these little things and then see how we go from there. Back to Tinkercad. As I was asking before, how many of you guys have actually used things like Tinkercad or AutoCAD or any kind of design software like this? Maybe it's been Blender, maybe it's an iPad software. I don't really remember the names of those iPad ones. I just got one recently. It's pretty popular. I've never used it, but I started playing around with the different shapes and absolutely love it. Again, I'm not used to 3D modeling or sculpting, so it's going to take some getting used to. Um, but yeah, leave a comment below if you ever used Tinkercad or any kind of design softwares like this. I'd love to pick your brain sometime, or even on this chat, because that's what the whole point of this channel is. If you're just tuning in, it's a learning experience in public. I want to do this together with people, and not fly solo in this learning process, because we're all learning together. Um, Even the professionals still have things to learn. Um, so that's kind of my thought process with that. Anyway, what I had done between these things here is I started going from piece to piece. This one is 4 mil tall. What's cool about that is I went 4 millimeters increments going up with each piece. So this one's going to be 8. This one's going to be 12 millimeters tall, 16, and so on. I think what I'm going to do here is make it a little bit deeper. My goal is to make, let's start with probably just 3 here. And it's going to be a little awkward with the math going from the beginning. So we're going to start here with 3 millimeters tall. And I think I'm going to kind of leave a little bit more than 3 millimeters here. Probably going to bring this one down to maybe 5. And I'm not going to keep that same pattern going all the way through. Reason for that is I want to make sure. Oop, let's bring this back down. What just happened? See, folks, if you know what you're doing, please tell me in the comments. I'd love to see. Anyway. So let's bring this down to 5. I'm doing baby steps here because I want to have this to be a little bit deeper. And I think once we get that pattern in place, we'll be able to continue up as we go. So this one's 3, this one's 5. I think I'm going to keep that same. Now let's bring it down a little more. Because why the heck not? Oh, let's not do that. A little too much. Cool. Let's get these first two pretty close in terms of millimeter in height. So this one's going to be 3 mil high. This one's going to be 4 mil high. It doesn't have to be this thick. I'm just choosing to do so because why not? Learning again. And I think from here now we can kind of go from there. So this one is 4. I think I'm going to go back in that steps of like, every 4 millimeters up. Or should we do threes? Let me hear your thoughts. Love to know. So this is 3 tall. This one's 4 tall. Doo-doo-doo. A level jazz, by the way. Let's go and make this one 7. Let's go up it by increments of 3. Why the heck not? Or, because these are going up by increments of 4, should we also go up by increments of 4 here? Let's let you be the judge. All right, folks, tell me. Say so in the comments. Threes or fours? Increments of 3 or increments of 4? Let's see it. Do, do, do. If you guys are just joining for the first time, welcome. Glad you guys are here. I am redesigning a piece of plastic, a 3D print, a model that I had redesigned for a Christmas gift this last year for my wife's grandmother. She's 96 years old, bless her heart, and she loves playing the game Racko. So here's a card holder for that game, the original one. Here's my original design. It's an inclined version of the same thing, uh, to kind of help improve visibility for either cards or just the way the cards sit in the rack themselves. Uh, it seemed to have worked fine. However, I want to make improvements on the previous design, always aiming to get better. That's the goal. So, aha, I see a thing. This thing that you guys are seeing here, this gray piece, is a bit of uh, it's a hole that is inside the design. And we'll be able to see that here in just a little bit, primarily because I'll just pull it out. I wanted to hollow out the inside myself, and the reason for that is you're using less filament or you're using less resin as you're doing that type of thing. I'm just going to start this off by just dragging these. I'll leave that one there. But dragging this piece to the side allows us to create some negative space to where that portion of the print is not. It's not printed. Saves you some filament, or it saves you resin, depending on what you're printing with. I would recommend this type of model be printed with filament. Um, that type of thing is super helpful. Toning out that portion. Novice to Nat 20, welcome. What do you mean by that? Out that portion. That's so funny. What's up, dude? Welcome to the stream here. Glad you guys are joining. Um, Let me hear your thoughts and opinions as we design together. So we got this one here is 3 millimeters. That's so funny. Picked up speech to text. Love it, dude. This one is 4. And because each of these are increments of 4, we're going to keep going up by those increments of 4 for that consistency's sake. I think this change itself, an extra 4 millimeters, will be able to be that difference that we needed. Please drive safely, by the way. Mr. Red Light over there, novice to Nat 20. Love you, Jarek. Be safe. Hope your daughter's not in the car with you. Anyway, um, the difference between 4 millimeters should be enough for the card depth. However, just to be certain, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down even further. I'm going to keep this down at 6, and then we'll go in increments of 4 from here to keep that consistency from spot to spot. Okay, so if this is, what is this, 6? Next one is going to be 10. Bada boom. And then this next one. I'm sure there's a way to select multiples, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, I like to vocal sim sometimes, as you'll see. So now we're going to reduce all of these by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now this should be so we should have 10. This should be 14. Oh, I missed it by 2. And just look at that. Thanks, y'all, for clicking things and pressing buttons and liking and loving and doing all this stuff. Definitely means a lot. So we're going to reduce these down by another 2. Oop, bop, bam. Huzzah. So now this. I don't know what that stuff means. Real time. Loved it. Okay, so 10. This should now be 14. What? Lies. Okay, so this should be 14. This should be 18. Do 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 do. This should be 22. This should be 26. This should be 30. And this last one should be 30. So now looking back, we should have even spacing between all of these card slots. So we have now reduced the total from, yeah, we've made plenty of spacing. So we've just created an extra, I believe, 6 or 8 millimeters from the original design in each spot here. So that should be more than sufficient for what we got going on. What's cool about this is cool. I love what's happening right now. TikTok Live is very cool, by the way. I'm just jamming, by the way. Just chilling, just jamming. For those who have watched, welcome. For those who are new here, welcome. What's up, Not Till Today? I am designing a card holder for a classic card game called Racko. So welcome. You are joining kind of close to the end here. What I've done so far is made some changes up at the top. Made some extra spacing here for the cards to sit down in there properly. It's a good time, good time. Do 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 do. Do, 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 do. All right, let's see here. Got 2 mil on either side. That should be sufficient there. I want to make sure it's not popping out in any spots here. That angle should still be good. Okay, so now what we're going to do, disregard that loud noise in the background. Loud vehicles. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to save where we are. I think it auto saves as well. But we're going to call union group. So now what this does is combines the whole thing, and then we're going to also look at bundle group, I believe. No, yes, bundle. Do 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 do. Intersectors, perhaps no. Huzzah! Alright, so we're just making sure that we don't have any fatal flaws in the design here. Nothing that'll make or break. Hopefully it'll make it, not break it. Just double checking the work. Want to make sure everything is looking good. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Cool, this is looking good so far. I think from here, I'm gonna do this whole thing and we're gonna paint the town, folks. We're gonna do, let's do blue like this, just because why the heck not? So, I think, folks, that is it for the moment. We have improved upon the design, not by drastic measures, but just by enough to make a real difference here. By deepening these slots, it allows the cards to sit better for sure. It's not huge again, it's just by the millimeter, by 6 or 8 millimeters at most. But what's really cool is that those millimeters make all the difference in the gameplay because the card sits better, it just drops in better, and all that kind of thing. So, also just wanted to double check and make sure that these slots do go all the way down because those were box shapes that were in there. I was running into a problem where the card came up on an angle. So what it would do is, let me show you here. It would kind of like angle itself up from, oop, let's undo that. It would give me a weird angle from like weird spaces. It's hard to explain. Um, it would almost go like on an incline this way, like on a weird thing to where the card would almost slip over the edge right here when it came into contact with the wall. But that's all right because we fixed it, made it work. It's looking great now. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and pop this in on the printer. So, if this is your first time tuning in, glad you guys are here. Welcome to the design with me. I think we're kind of officially wrapping it up, to be honest. Got most of this pretty much done. And then we're gonna throw it into a real world application here in a bit, and play the game with it and see how it goes. I just love to see the different iterations of the product itself. So, again, if you are joining for the first time, welcome. If you've been here the whole time, great. I'm so glad you guys came out for this design with me. It's kind of a shorter live tonight. I think we accomplished all we were setting out to do. And I'm grateful for everyone being here tonight. We go back to full screen camera. What just happened to my full screen camera? Well, I lost my camera. That's alright. That's alright. We'll switch it here for now. Wow, that's a terrible camera. Well, like I said, if you guys are joining for the first time, welcome. Glad y'all are here. We're gonna wrap up this live, so thanks for joining. In